Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Ibnu Annas with my student ID number 3000164. And today I'm gonna talk about a sociolinguistic presentation about code switching and dialing. These two elements play an important role on how people use language in real life, especially when using bahasa. So, what is code switching? According to Kumar no Kapang Hasan 2021, it is when people use two or more language in same conversation without changing the topic. Like example, bro, nanti malam kumpul in my house ya. Jangan lupa bawa snack. This mix of innovation is very common because especially people in urban area. It happens naturally and often without thinking. Next is the reason behind code switching. Now, why do people use code switching? Almost 2013 explained that first, to adapt the different social settings. Second, to express emotion or emphasize something. The third, it helps to fill the gaps while lacking. Maybe forget a word in one language. And the last is also can reflect identity or show politeness depending on who we talk to. So basically, it's not a random thing. It's a social conversation or social communicative purpose. Next is the kind of code switching. There are two kinds of code switching. First, situational, and second is metaphorical. The first one is situational code switching. This often happens when the language changes based on the situation. I give you some example. The server talks to a customer in Bahasa, but switch to Japanese when he or she in the kitchen talking to a cook. Second is metaphorical code switching. This happens within one situation, but it adds a new meaning depending on the topic. So, for example, a lecturer. A lecturer uses formal language, formal English when teaching, but switch into bahasa when joking or making the class more relaxing. So this helps to express the relationship between the lecturer and student. That's enough explanation about the code switching. Now let's move into the second topic, dialect. What is dialect? What Doc 2010, Holmes 2013 define a dialect as a variety of language that is used by a specific group. It can differ in pronunciation, vocabulary, or maybe grammar. So each kind of dialect represent the culture and historical background, or maybe historical meaning that connects between the community identity. So I give you some example of the dialect. There are two kind of example. First, in English or in maybe British English, lorry means a truck, but in American English, truck is a truck. Second one in Indonesia, and Arab or Japanese meaning one. Abdi in Sundanese mean I, aku, saya, and ete in Betawi means you, kamu, kau. This kind of difference show that the regional and cultural identity. Next, we're going to talk about the factor that influencing the dialect. There are several things to influence the dialect. First one is geography. The geography, the people from a different place that speak differently with a distinct speech pattern. Second one is social class. The language can reflect a social status or maybe an economic status. The third one is ethnicity, and explain that cultural background also shapes the language use. And the last is age and gender. Teenager and maybe an older person, older adults may use a different terms and speech style uh, between the genders. But this kind of factor combined create the unique way to speak. So next one is, why do people use the dialect? And why is this important? I give you three key points that using a dialect can help us to understand cultural diversity. It allows us to appreciate how rich and complex human language is. But it also helps us to recognize someone's background, values, tradition, culture, identity. So using dialect is not just about talking about identity and respect, but to understand, appreciate, and recognize. Now, the conclusion is to sum up about the code switching and dialect. First one is code switching. It's how people switch between one language to another language based on the social context, emotion, or maybe practically. The second one is dialect. The dialect is a reflect or maybe shows how language can vary depending on region, human society, and or maybe a class, culture. Both code switching dialect, believing that language is not fixed. It evolves, it adapts, and it depends. It depends to fit the people who use it. So I think that's enough for my explanation about code switching and dialect. Show you that this is the reference that I use for J with the title An Introduction to Sociolinguistics. Second one, Kumar, Mukapang and Hassan 2021. The title is Effectiveness of Code Switching in Language Classroom in India at Primary Level. And the third one is work of 2010, An Introduction to Sociolinguistics. And the last but not least, I get the reference from Sociolinguistics as a slide. The source really helped to understand how language affects society and identity. So that's all from my presentation of Sociolinguistics about code switching and dialect. I hope that it helps you to understand the material. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.